Today we'll be making the Lesley Needle Roll. First, you'll want to iron out all of your material, your exterior and your interior material. Try to pick something that contrasts. I think it's nice to have a little contrast. You're going to need to cut two 14 by 14 and one 10 by 14 if you're going to make the needle roll I showed in the tutorial. But of course you can always adjust the width of the squares to make them more rectangular if you have more needles to fit. That 10 by 14 you're going to iron in half like I showed here and line up. You're going to want to sandwich the 10 by 14 piece in between the two 14 by 14 pieces, and the 14 by 14s you're going to place right sides facing each other like we have here. Smooth everything out, make sure your sandwich is nice and square in there, and then you're going to pin around the outside. And I like to take two pins of the same color, and here we'll take red, and pin right through the 3 layers of this sandwich. So go ahead and go around and be careful to catch all 3 layers as you pin through the whole perimeter. And remember, keep note that these 2 red pins will mark where you won't sew. These 2 red pins are going to tell you which section of the needle roll you'll keep unsewn so that you can turn it inside out later, or right side out, I suppose. So go to your machine and mark 1/4 of an inch and go through and sew, pulling your pins out as you go along. Of course, you don't want to roll over a pin. And approximately 1/4 inch from the edge, stop, put your needle down and spin your piece. You'll get a nice crisp corner that way. We'll just fast forward through some of this sewing. Remember, leave that 2-3 inch piece there open. So in order to prep your piece to turn over, you want to cut out the bulk of the corners. Using a fine embroidery scissors, go ahead and cut out the bulk. You see here, I'm using them, getting as close to the seam as you feel comfortable. You should get these little V-shaped pieces that come off as you trim away that bulk. And they always remind me of the little drawings I made of birds when I was a kid. So once you get that removed, you're going to flip your piece right side out, making sure to poke out your corners as you go. My little needle poking pools. I use just a larger size 10, maybe size 9, double pointed. Or they sell these special turning tools, which I think are good because they have a slightly blunter end, so you're not going to accidentally poke through your corner. But it doesn't necessarily give you as crisp of a corner as a pointier object like this double pointed, but just be careful not to push with so much force that you push through. So then once you've ironed that out and flattened it out, you're going to place your ribbon in. Remember, we left it right where all 3 of those fabric pieces come together. That's a good position to have the ribbon in later when it's time to tie everything together. So pin it in there, and I just put a second pin in to close that kind of 3 inch section. And you're going to want to top stitch around the entire piece at about a scant 1/4 of an inch. So I move slower through this just to make sure that you're staying as close to the edge so that you can catch all of those hem pieces inside and seal up the opening. So here you go. Now we're going to make the pockets for the double pointed. I use these friction pilot pens, which are heat sensitive pens. I think they work pretty well. I've been using them for several years now. So go ahead and line up your straight edge. You're going to want to make a line about every 1 1/3 inches So I use my cutting board for this so that I can get nice straight lines. And then I go ahead and make the markings. You'll get about 9 for the 14-inch cut. If you went ahead and made a rectangular shape, you'll get more. Just factor out how many you want. And, you know, of course, if you're doing double pointed that are larger or smaller, you can adjust size. I like to stitch these down from the bottom of the roll to the top. That lets you kind of double stitch at the top, which gives it a little bit more stability, so that when you're pulling your needles in and out, it gives it a little bit more strength in that opening. And once you've done all of those pockets, go ahead and clean up any stray strings that may be hanging out on the back and the front, cleaning up your work. I use those great little embroidery scissors for that. And then just fill your needle roll with your double points. And then this roll fits all of my double points, which is great. Fold it over. And I like to fold it in half before I do the roll. It just makes it a little simpler. And then tie your ribbon in a bow. And you're all set to go. And this Lesley Needle Roll fits quite nicely inside of your Heather project bag.